Hello guys, so today I want to speak to you guys about EPLAN project types and also about EPLAN page types. So we know that in EPLAN you have two different types of projects. So you have the schematics projects and the macros projects. The schematics project is the one that's commonly used. It's the commonly used type of project, and then you have the macros project. This is used for creating and generating macros, schematic parts to be used later in the schematics project. And one thing you should note that when you're using the macros project is that cross-reference and connecting information cannot be done. So basically your interruption points do not work well. If you have like a relay and you want to display the contacts of the relay, it doesn't work well in the macros project. Well, it doesn't work at all. Not that it doesn't work well, it doesn't work at all because it's a macros project. The extension file which shows that the schematics project is editable, it's usually the .elk file. So if you have the .elk file, maybe from a customer or you got it from your colleague, that's the one that's editable. It's the schematics project. So I'm just gonna start a new EPLAN project. I'm gonna go to File. I'm using EPLAN Pro Panel 2022. This is the same if you're using EPLAN, the normal version EPLAN 2022 or 2023. So I'm just gonna go to File, then I'm gonna say New Project. I'm gonna just create a dummy project, and I'm gonna leave it as New Project brackets 2. Those are not important right now. I'm just gonna leave all that information the same. Just gonna click OK. And now what EPLAN does is that it's starting to load. It loads all the plugins, loads all the information and all the type of material that I'm gonna need for my project. So once that is said and done, and EPLAN has loaded all the necessary information and also updated the project database, EPLAN will pop up a window like this one, which is the project properties for a new project. So you can fill in these details, fill in whatever that you need to fill in. And you can see here on this line there's type of project. So you have the schematics project like I mentioned, which is the editable project and the .elk file. And if you click on this drop down arrow, you'll see that there's a macros project and the schematics project. For now I'm gonna leave it on the schematics project, and I'm gonna show you guys the difference a little bit later once I've added a page and also spoken about page types. So I'm gonna just click OK there, leave it as schematics project, click OK. And now what EPLAN does is that it's gonna create a new project with a page, and just the page will be a cover page. So once everything is said and done, you can just click on your page navigators, have your page navigators open, and just click on project and just open the one that EPLAN has created for you guys, which is the dummy page, the cover page. And once it's open, you can see your schematic page here. This is the cover page, and I just want to mention to you guys that when you do a project, you edit it, and maybe it's by the end of the day, you can close the project, and the next day you want to open it. There's 3 methods of opening a new project, or opening a existing project rather, not a new project. There's 3 ways of opening it. So you can start your Explorer, maybe you can start your Windows Explorer, search for where the project is located. Basically that's your extension right there at the top, where the project is located. For mine it's user public EPLAN data project HP, then the project is new project in brackets 2. So you can locate it there, or you can also open your EPLAN and then drag the project from this folder, drag it from the file explorer, and just drag it to your page navigator, and it will open the project. And then the third method is that once you're inside EPLAN, you can actually just go to file and just go to open, and then when you are in open, you can just browse where the project is located inside your PC or on the server. I suggest that you do this. You will go to file, open, and locate where the project is saved, instead of just going on your Windows browser, and then maybe you are in your Windows browser, for example, maybe you are in your Windows browser, you find where the project is located on your PC, and then you double click on it and try to open it. I don't suggest that. Reason is sometimes that the project is was created in a different version. Maybe, for example, it was created in 2023 version, or it was created in a 2.9 or 2.5 EPLAN version. So it sometimes pops up an error and says that, hey, are you aware that the project was created in a different EPLAN version? Do you want to open it in this version? So I would suggest you to actually just go to File Open, and once you go to File Open, you can actually see before trying to open the project that it was actually created in 2.9 or it was created in 2022 or 2023. And also just to mention that with EPLAN, the main projects that you have in EPLAN is actually the schematics projects and the macros projects. All other project types, they actually rely on the schematics project. So you have different types of file extensions for EPLAN. Just like I mentioned, you have the .elk, which is the normal editable file, which is the normal project that you normally work on. Then you have the .ell. The .ell is the project type with change tracking. So if you change something, it does record that it was changed on this day at this time, and it records who changed it. So in terms of the username, so you can see my username is here. This is the name that you filled in when you were registering or when you were installing EPLAN. So it will track that who changed it. It's kind of like has a revision. So it will track who changed it and when and at what time. And then you have the .elp. The .elp, it's a project that's a zipped project. Then you have the .els. The .els is a filed off project. Then you also have the .elx. The .elx, it's a filed and a zipped project. Then you have also the .elr. The .elr, it's a complete project, so you have completed it. It was sent to the customer maybe, and everything is well and done with it, so you just change it to the .elr extension. Then you also find the last one, which is the .elt. It's a temporary EPLAN file with references. So basically you can do a lot of comparison. You can compare like 2 or 3 projects using that type of extension. So it's the .elt extension. So as I mentioned as well, that all other project types, they rely on the .elk. So it's the basic project, it's a project tempo, it's the archive project. They rely on that. They are derived from a normal EPLAN project. So there's nothing I hear people usually speaking about a symbols project and a graphics project. There's nothing like that, it's you only have the main one, which is the schematics and the macros project, and all of them. The schematics project can be saved into different extensions, which I mentioned, the .elx, the .elr, the .elt. So just to move a little bit forward to the page types, I just want to explain a few about that EPLAN offers you a lot of page types. There's many of them, and all the page types have specific purposes. And as you can see on my page navigators here, you get a little icon there. That icon with the blue, if you can look at it, with there's a blue like a frost, it actually just shows that this page has been frozen inside your reports. Inside your reports, you can actually freeze certain reports so that when you generate reports or when you actualize the reports, this page cannot be changed. So basically you cannot change what's here. You just freeze it and it remains the same. So you can use that function to freeze your reports. It's nicer to freeze the reports as well. If you maybe for example, we normally do a lot of freezing for the material list. So if you have a report with the material list and most of that material list actually is not on our database, for example, maybe Siemens PLC, the customer calls it with the Siemens description and with the Siemens part number, and maybe in our database we call it we have maybe a SIE dot the part number, and maybe the customer, he gave us an EPLAN project, and inside the EPLAN project the original data article database actually calls it with the part number itself and not with the SIE dot part number. So then you have a lot of conflict in terms of when you generate or actualize your material list. So normally with the material list, we just freeze it when we got a certain project from the customer and he doesn't want us to change that section, but he wants us to add a new section. Maybe, for example, there's a panel here and maybe he wants us to add, maybe, for example, I'm gonna just create another one and I'm gonna just do something like this, and maybe do something like that, and maybe do something like that. Create a new page and just say ignore, and then we have created a different section. So maybe we have created this section and then we don't want to change anything in this section. This is the section we got from the customer. We're creating another section here, and we will actually freeze the reports for the customer section so that we don't affect anything with when we generate the project's reports. So we just freeze those reports that we receive from the customer. So back to the page types. So with the page types, as I mentioned, that there's an icon that appears there. I'm going to create another page just to show you. I'm going to create a schematics multi-line page, and then I'm going to just call it schematics. I'm just going to click ignore there, ignore. And you can see that I've created a schematics page, and the schematics page has a different icon, and you can create many other page types. So there's these ones here. You can click on these three dots, and if you click on these three dots, there's other types as well. For the symbol overview, for the table of content, you have different types, and also for your PLC address overview, enclosure legend, you can have different page types. So you also have for the graphic, and you also have for your mounting your panel layout. So you can create one for the panel layout. If I click OK, just click ignore there, ignore, and you can see that it has a different graphic symbol. So different graphic symbol represent specific purposes, and sometimes certain functionalities are not allowed inside different pages. So maybe in this page you cannot do your schematics multi-line, and in this page you cannot do your enclosure layout. So you just have to be wary of what pages you use when you're doing panel layout. So I'm just gonna change the name description to say this is a panel layout. So you can see this is a panel layout and this is a schematics page, and it serves different purposes. So what I'm gonna do as well, I'm just gonna do something that's like this. I'm just gonna add a macro. So you can see there you have your references, your interruption points. They actually just referencing each other actually, because I just edited in one page. And if I try doing that here, I'm gonna try to just throw in one like that, and you can see already what's happening is that we're missing those lines. So that's the reason why it's not a multi-line schematics type of page, but it's a panel layout type of page. So that's why we're missing all those connections that we would normally have. We're missing all the interruption points that we would normally have, and we just missing more information with the connections, the direct connections to different symbols. So that's the difference. If I would change this to a schematics page, you would see that we would have those connections now availing themselves. So you can see those connections are now availing themselves, and if I change it back to the panel layout, those connections will now just disappear, because you're not supposed to be doing schematics inside an enclosure layout page type, and you're not supposed to be doing enclosure designs inside your schematics multi-line. So also on your cover page, obviously, or on a page like this one, this is a different page type. It's the title and cover sheet page type. You don't want to do schematics page on a certain page like this one. So also a thing to note is that some pages are logical and some pages are graphical. So this page, as you can see, it's graphical. It's supposed to be only graphics and no symbols actually, and no interruption points. And as you can see, this page is logical, so it's a page that's logical with reference points. It's a page that has reference points as well and interruption points. So it's a logical page and it contains logical information. Cross references can be made, as I mentioned, cross references can be made, and you can see on that one, cross references cannot be made. And also you can see that most of the time we use this page for schematics multi-line and also to create our PNIDs. Because we do a lot of references with the PNIDs, we also use this type of page with logic, and we don't use a page that has no logic. Of course, there is a page type for PNIDs, a specific one for PNIDs. As you can see here, it's PNID diagrams. It's a specific one for PNIDs. And then also we do find that in EPLAN there's pages that are editable and there's pages that are automatic. So all your reports, they are actually automatic pages because you do a lot of reporting. It's not a page that you have to manually fill in certain information, but you take a form, you create a form, or you use EPLAN's database forms. So when you install EPLAN, it comes with certain forms that you can use, like for your cover page. For example, this is a one from EPLAN. You can see it as a logo from EPLAN. It's a one by default from EPLAN. So it has information, so EPLAN allows you to use it. They allow you the freedom to use it, or you can create your own form, and you can also create your own plot frame. This one is from EPLAN, so you can create your own plot frame and have certain information. Or if you don't want to, you can just use what EPLAN has offered you, and maybe you can just change the logo there by editing this form or creating a new form. You can just change the logo and add your company's logo, or add your face there if you want to. You can add your face smiling there, or your sad face, whatever. You can add whatever image that you want there, and then yeah, you can create that page. But the page will be automatic, so when you generate your reports, that page will be automatic. It won't be a page whereby every time you will need to fill in all this details manually on the cover page, but it will just be automatically generated for you based on the information that you filled underneath your properties. So it's based on the information that you filled underneath your properties. For example, you can see this information regarding the creator. It's actually the same information that appears here regarding the creator, and also it appears here and appears here. So it regards the creator, regards the customer, regards the date when it was created, regards the who created the project, and also the structure of the project. So you can see that the structure of the project is a CA1. You can see CA1 there. You can also see the plus and this plus, and also you can see the TA that we have created there. So you can also note that page types can be separated from each other based on the structure that you create. So for example, I can separate different pages from each other based on structures. So I can maybe say with this one, I can just separate it maybe by saying I'll call that C4. And I can just actually notice that this project was not the structure for this project, the structure identifiers were not made available, were not identified. So I'm just gonna leave that as the normal one, and I'm just gonna change this one maybe to my initials, and just click OK. And you can see that you can separate pages with structures. So you can use your structures to your advantages to separate certain pages, and you can make that available for yourself by just going to structures and making certain page types page structures available. So you can see only the equal sign for the functional designation is identified, and only the location designation is identified. So you can make some of them identified. If you want to see how you identify them, you can check out my structure identity management video, and I explained a lot about structures in that video. It's probably like a 45-minute video where I explain into detail how I do my structures. Remember, there's not only one way to do structures. Different customers do it differently, but that's how I do my structures. I know that there's different people who do it differently. So for guys who are starting off with structures, I think that's a great video to watch, so you can watch that. And then I'm gonna just go back to this page and then detail as well. I said I will come back to that, so I will detail as well what's the difference between project structures, what's the difference between the macros project and the schematics project. So as you can see, this is a schematics project. It shows the details of the references where everything is referencing, and I'm just gonna add a symbol like a relay just to show you guys. I'm gonna just add a symbol, a relay, and I'm gonna add the relay contact as well. So I'm just gonna click here and have a relay inserted there, and I'm gonna leave it as K1. I'm just gonna click OK, and then I'm gonna create a new page so that we reference this. I'm gonna just name it page 2 for just description purposes. It's not really page 2, but just for description purposes I'm gonna create it as page 2. I'm gonna insert the contact for that relay, and I'm just gonna put it there, and I'm just gonna call it K1, and we can see that we're getting a reference to say, hey, K1 is actually on page 3, and you get that as well. So I'm gonna just change this project. I'm gonna flip this project to a macros project. It's currently a schematics project. I'm just gonna flip it to a macros project, and I'm just gonna go back, and you should see that, hey, something has disappeared. So what happens is that referencing is just not allowed in, it just doesn't work in the macros project. So referencing doesn't work in the macros project. And usually what we do with the macros project is that we create a lot of macros. So basically this is in relation to saying that you can also see that the interruption points are not referencing anything. So basically coming back to that, we use the macros project to create a lot of typicals. So say that, for example, I'm just gonna add a symbol just to complete the circuit. I'm just gonna add a motor, so it's a power consumer. I'm gonna add a 3-phase motor. I'm just gonna add it here. And I'm just gonna leave it as M1, and I'm just gonna close that section. And just yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. But for example, say that we wanna have this, and we wanna have this 1,000 times. So say that it's a big plant, maybe it's an automotive plant, or maybe it's a food industry plant, and it's a big plant, and it's having a lot of it has a buffer system. So a buffer system is whereby there's a lot of maybe cars that are waiting for the next step of the process. So because there's currently where the process is happening, where the next step process is happening, it's currently occupied, or maybe sometimes it's currently faulty. So they need to kind of like have a storage where they store the cars till the fault is completed, or till the fault is actually closed up. So while the fault is not closed up, while the fault is active, while the maintenance guys are trying to sort out this fault, we push the cars onto the buffer system. It happens also at the airport usually. That's why you have flight delays. It's that usually with the suitcases, they travel through conveyors, and if one of the conveyors is faulty and it or maybe the main conveyor is actually faulty. It blocks all the suitcases to come to the place of collection where you will collect your suitcases. So while the guys are trying to sort out that, the suitcases can't start lining up behind each other and causing a long line behind each other. So they try to reroute them in a different direction, and they will sit at the buffer line. And while they're sitting at the buffer line, they will try to fix the conveyor, the main conveyor stream. And once the main conveyor stream is fixed, then they will start releasing them. But once they start releasing them from that buffer system, they have to have different motors that actually push one suitcase or one car after another. It works perfectly in the automotive industry. So they start pushing one car after another, and it moves from one station or one section to the next, to the next, to the next, and so forth. So usually you have motors that do that. You have a lot of motors. So you would create a macros project, and then you would actually not have any any articles or any parts behind the motors. So you would actually create this type of page, and then what happens is that in your schematics page, you just start pushing them into your schematics page, these pages that you have created. So you just kind of like a copy and paste. But with the macros project, what it does is that you don't just paste it 1,000 times. You just click it that I want to have it 1,000 times. So you move it from the macros project to the schematics project, and you say, hey, I want to have this page, the specific page that you're seeing here, I want to have it 1,000 times. And you don't just paste it 1,000 times. So imagine just copying this page and saying, hey, I want to copy this page and I want to paste it 1,000 times. So it's kind of like an easy method of doing that. And what happens is that with the macros 2 schematics page is that it prompts you and says that, hey, do you want this one to be 2.2 amps to 3.2 amps? Do you want the next one to also be 2.2 to 3.2 amps, and so forth? So you can just change, say that at page 50, the 50th motor, I want it to be 2.2 to 3.2 amps, and the 60th motor, I want it to be 4 amps to 10 amps, for example. You can just start filling in all that information that's required. So different pages will actually have different articles behind them. They will have different part numbers. So you can see the soft starter has this part number, and maybe at page 69 there will be another soft starter, same page like this one, but just that it has a different part number. And it also helps that you don't get for example, if I just copy this page, I just want to show you something. I'm just going to copy this page, and I'm going to just remove this, and I'm going to paste it here. So you don't have this happening. So if you can see these 2 pages, look at that, they're not sitting at the same position. So having macros, you just generate one macro, and which is this one. You're happy with this one, you're happy with the height at which all the components are sitting at, and you just start pasting it 1,000 times. So you don't have this type of error whereby certain schematics are sitting at different heights. So that's what's nice about having a macros project. And also a macros project, a lot of guys, I don't do a lot of 3D drawings. My customers don't require a lot of 3D drawings, but I know a lot of guys do a lot of 3D drawings, and when they do a lot of 3D drawings in Pro Panel, they require to have 3D symbols. Some customers don't like it when you display rectangles because it doesn't really show that it's clipping properly on the DIN rail. It doesn't show the connection where the exact connection is located, although you can change the points of connection on that rectangle that you have. But some customers like it when they can see the real item, like for example maybe a power analyzer. They can really see that power analyzer and not just see a rectangle and wonder, yeah, what's that rectangle, and now they have to check what the DT of that rectangle is, and they have to reference in your drawing where is it located and see, oh, it's actually a power analyzer. So it's nice to see the device itself. So sometimes it's that on EPLAN data portal you don't find certain parts, so you have to kind of like go to the website of Siemens or Eaton or whatever, and once you go to their website you actually don't find the EDZ file. So what you find is that you find the step file, and once you have the step file, now Remember, the step file was not designed for EPLAN alone, so it doesn't have the EPLAN function, but it was just designed so that it's a step 3D file, So now what you can do with the macros project is that you can import that step file. You can go to files, and then once you're in files, you can click on import, and in import you can click on layout space, and then you can import the step file. And once you have imported the step file, you'll also have to now actually create the connection points for that. You will have to create all the necessary information for that underneath your layout space. You will have to create all the necessary information for that 3D file. So now you're turning that 3D file into an EMA file, and the EMA file is the one that EPLAN recognizes as a good file, if I can say. It recognizes it as a good file, and that EMA file, now you can actually store it underneath your database, your parts database inside parts management. You can actually store that EMA file, and you can store it directly underneath the part that is the power analyzer. For example, in this case, you can store it underneath the power analyzer. And once you're done with your schematics and you now want to create your 3D mounting layout, you can just grab that part from your parts navigator, and once you try to put it on your mounting plate, it will actually appear as a part that is a step file, but it's actually like a 3D file. It's not really a step file, it's a 3D file. It will appear as a 3D file, and you'll actually have done in your macros project, you would have set up the different points of connection. So that's what you can do in the macros project. You can actually kind of like do a lot of macros, create a lot of macros for yourself, create 3D macros, create 2D macros, create some schematics macros like this one, and you can have block properties defined for that. So remember, you only have two project types: the schematics project and the macros projects. All others are not really projects. So there's nothing like a Symbol projects, there's nothing like a motors projects, there's nothing like a DinRails projects or something else, I don't know. But yeah, I've had people speak about Symbols projects. There's nothing like that. All the others, they just fall underneath the schematics project or the macros project. And remember, once you're done with your project, or once you're happy with your project, you can actually change it on to a revision type of project, whereby it will actually change track the project changes. So that will be the .ell, and you can change it to the .elp, that's zip file project. You can change it to the .els, that's a filed off project, the .elx, filed off and a zip project. So the .elx is kind of like a combination of the .elp and the .els. And you have the .elr, that's when you have done with the project, you just don't want to see it anymore. You don't want to see that customer anymore. He was kind of like annoying, he demanded a lot. You just take his project, save it as the .elr, and you don't want to see it anymore. Move on to the next project. And you have also the .elt, it's a temporary EPLAN reference project. Thanks very much for watching, and do subscribe for more videos, and tell your friends there's nothing like a Symbols project. There's only schematics, macros project. And also tell your friends to stop trying to create schematics underneath the panel layout page type, and stop creating panel layout inside the graphics page type. Just doesn't make sense. EPLAN has made it simple for you. Use what EPLAN has made for you simple. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.